and welcome to Gallifrey's Most Wanted. I'm Ross Aiken. I'm Old Who.
My name is Melvin Pena. I represent You-Who.
And I'm here too.
All right, folks. I know it's been a long gap in episodes. The podcast's going to be changing, but it's new Doctor Who season. So Melvin and Jeff have been kind enough to come back, and we're going to talk about the series 2 or whatever, season 15, however you're numbering them. Mm-hmm. I may be one of those ones that does the 15 because I'm an ass. The opening episode, which is the Robot Revolution. Folks, I've had some dental work, so if I sound weird, that's all right. And I may let these guys talk first and a little longer. All right, so I'm going to start with Jeff. What did you think about it?
I felt like, in a nutshell, this should have replaced Space Babies as the opener. If this was the introduction to this era of Doctor Who, I think it would maybe have found a broader landing area than the very weird Space Babies story.
Which we all like. No, I got you.
To a new audience anyway, which of course is part of the whole point of being on Disney Plus worldwide and stuff. It's to attracting new people, and I think this was a much better opener to a season than Space Babies was, because you have to get used to Doctor Who's weirdness before fully immersing yourself in it sometimes. I think now I don't know how I pronounce the name. Is it Varada Sethu? Belinda? I think she's magnificent straight away, and she kind of stole the show, but it was very much her story. I have a few odd complaints that come purely from my own personal artistic style and design style tastes. But on the whole, I thought it was all right. I'm just struggling to get a grip on exactly who Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor is. I really don't have a feel for him at all at the moment, and I don't know quite why. But I'm sure I'll get there.
Mm-hmm. All right, Melvin, what about you?
I have some weird agreements with Jeff. Like, not weird in that the things he's saying are weird or the things you're saying are weird, but like things that I wouldn't have expected to agree with you on. The aesthetic stuff I love. I love the look of this episode. I recently watched, and it'll be my recommendation at the end, just randomly the other night on a weird Roku channel called Sci-Fi Classics. I watched a movie from 1957 called Invasion of the Saucer Men. So I was sort of primed for this aesthetic. Like I lived it and loved it. And one of the great things, what you were saying, and again, this is sort of what the weird dovetails into, is that on that aesthetic level, along with Space Babies, like this is such a Doctor Who is properly weird on Disney Plus. Like, and I really what I mean by that is that there's nothing else on sci-fi or science fantasy television that looks like this, that does Space Babies, or that would do Robot Revolution the way that they did it, with the look that they gave it. It's very big and bold and colorful, and I love all of that stuff. I can see how Space Babies, or even this, would sort of like feel weird or discordant to a new viewer. But by the same token, like I just think there's nothing else on TV that looks like it, and I really have a lot of time for the boldness of those design and aesthetic choices. I've heard her pronounce it as Varada Sethu. I think the way we're saying it's fine. Again, I agree with you, Jeff. I think she did steal the show. I think she was the person that you were most like drawn to every scene that she was in, and yeah, it is sort of her story. So that makes sense. But I also sort of weirdly agree with you. And this is right after coming right heavy on the heels of Joy to the World, which I felt was Ncuti at his most Doctor Who. Like, he felt the most comfortable there. Whereas here in Robot Revolution, there were a couple of scenes and a few lines. And really, it was just a few lines which felt uncanny to me, which threw me out. Because there were a couple of lines he would say where I'm like, it feels like he's reading a script. It doesn't feel like he's delivering the line as the Doctor. it just doesn't feel natural coming out of his mouth. And I don't know if that's sort of what you're angling towards. But again, we can get into all this as we go along. For me, overall, on the whole, using those sort of broad podcasting words, I really love this episode. It worked for me as a story. It felt a lot like, and I know you're going to hear probably a lot of podcasts talking about and lamenting that this is sort of playing out as RTD greatest hits. But the hits are fucking great. Like, the hits he's drawing on are fantastic. Like, the beginning of the episode, really, the music and the frenetic pace of Belinda walking through the hospital feels very Smith and Jones to me. It also feels very Partners in Crime, where they keep missing each other. Like, those are great hits. And, like, I love that he is redeploying those because, again, it's not unoriginality. It's not, whatever way you could look at it disparagingly. I feel like this works because this is RTD doing what he knows works, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So that's sort of my initial view, is that I really liked the aesthetics. I really love Verita Setu. Again, a little bit weird on the Doctor and how he fits in here. And we'll talk more about that because, again, sort of my thing on that whole thinking about the Doctor tip is that he was a little bit uncomfortably paralleled with Alan, especially towards the end, in the way that he acts and sort of like brings Belinda on this adventure. But again, I just want to lay that out there. That's just sort of where we'll be going.
That's good, because let me jump in with my overall, and I'm going to tag in what you just said. No, that's cool. I really liked it. Mm-hmm. I agree what you're saying about the greatest hits and how strong she is Belinda. I think it is definitely, this is a Smith and Jones, and this is a Rose, where it's not the Doctor's episode. Mm-hmm. Because Davies is even more so than any other producer of the show says that the companion is really the main companion. And the show, I really like that I loved her. I love that she's strong. She's a nurse. I work.
The main character. I think
I have in the hospital.
Ross, if it's okay, because you keep pausing, if it's okay, I'm me or Jeff might jump in and like say what you said so that it's not just dead air.
Well,
we're just letting you know that might be how this works.
Well, let me make sure when I'm recording, I'm seeing it be recorded. So, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I loved how strong a character she was. I liked it. I like Millie, but the teenage companion sometimes. I like to see that this is a forceful character and she's going to have an adventure. I like the aesthetic because it was very like pop culture, 50s colored, or British science fiction comic strips of the 50s. Version of it, the rocket ship. They're doing a lot of rocket ships that land like old-fashioned rocket ships in this run, but I liked everything. It worked. I felt they were writing a love letter to late 80s Who, because the way that the giant computer looks. I just watched 25 because I got the Blu-ray set, and I felt little Candyman. That looked like a 1980s evil computer, and I fucking loved it.
Do you know, my first thought immediately was of Deep Thought, and that RTD was going for a Douglas Adams Hitchhiker's Guide-esque thing.
Yeah. The
trouble is RTD isn't Douglas Adams, and the Hitchhiker's Guide works for the Hitchhiker's Guide. One of the things I'm not keen on is Douglas Adams era Doctor Who, I'm afraid. It's one of my least favourite eras of Doctor Who.
That's so shocking.
But I love everything that he did away from Doctor Who. I just, the two, never the twain should meet in my own sort of interpretation of what Doctor Who is. And so it felt a little bit like he was going, right, how hitchhikers can I get away with making this?
I see it what you mean visually. I think this is all on the set designer. because I feel that he's going for 80s British science fiction set design.
Well,
like
I mean,
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You know, the robots are old-fashioned looking, the spaceship's old-fashioned, and the set designer's like, I'll just, because like at late 80s, like big computer crap. That made me love. That was something I liked, because I went, okay, they're doing a little like wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
RTD definitely had RTD definitely had an influence in that, though. I watched The Unleashed, and he was telling them, like, I'm looking at 50s sci-fi posters, like thinking about those big, bold things. So, like, yeah, it was absolutely like he was like, yeah, and the designers went to town after, you know, like exactly with that.
Now, this is where one of my complaints comes in, and I hate to be the middle-aged white man that says Doctor Who looks too good. But it looks expensively fake at times, and that kind of just sort of jolts me a little bit. Because if I think back to Jodie's era and how much time they spent in real places, real locations, not just in the UK as well, and how much detail went into the reality of the world, and it just felt very. I play a lot of computer games, and it felt a bit computer gamey at times. I get the stylistic design choices, but sometimes I think the closest I can equate it to is when you listen to an album that is overproduced and you lose some of the heart of it, the heart of the music, because it's just overwhelmed in production. And that kind of landed, it kind of how it landed with me last night watching it. I was like, this looks too good. And that's such a stupid complaint. And I know it is. And it is just looking like I'm trying to find something to be negative about. But it's about buying into the unit. It's like, I love Star Wars because Star Wars feels very lived in.
Yep.
And this didn't feel lived in. It just felt impressive.
And that's the comparison that I would make, because I get what I understand what you're saying from a point of view of there's a sort of a contrast on the screen, which there shouldn't be between what you're seeing, like in the field of vision, meaning like when the robot is there standing next to you, or the giant computer, which to me sort of looks like, Ross, can you remind me what the name of the character is in X-Force, where it's just like a bunch of like jagged lines and like yellow and that's what it looked like to me, with the like jagged eyes and like stuff like that. But what I was going to say is that the comparison for me is the re-released Star Wars, because you get the janky robots walking by with the weirdly CGI things that are happening, and they're happening at the same time. So you're like, which of these am I supposed to be? Which of these is my reality? Because I love all the stuff where they're in set and like looking at like the big set that they built with the throne room and the set of the rebel base and stuff like that. But when they're outside and like there's a city spire happening, it like looks completely different than what you're looking at immediately. And that's that's what it is for me. So I think that makes sense to you, Jeff.
Well, no, I agree with. I have this thing, and it's with almost all modern science fiction on television. Is whenever they were showing us, like, the spaceships were fine, like when the TARDIS is flying, stuff like that, that's one thing. But when they're standing on that big walkway and you have the big panoramic, there is such a change from when they do that, and then they go into the room and you know they're in a set.
Yep.
It's almost like watching old Doctor Who when it's film and then it's video. It's jarring.
Yeah.
It's jarring. And I think that's everybody.
Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily an old white man point of view.
Because I think because they don't have the time to. What they do, like in a feature film, is they add what the term they use for texture. You know, like
rating,
where they're going to make it look okay. We're going to put a layer of
to give a
rain
consistent look. Yep.
Yeah, because it was a big thing when they were trying to. When they were learning that they couldn't do water right away with CGI. That problem, because the level of texturing you had to do was like 1,000 times more than a wall, and it was just real hard. They had, and to build up the memory to do it, it took them a long time to sign. I think it is. It's very Phantom Menace kind of.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Those backgrounds, those digital backgrounds are so busy. Like you'd almost rather them build a model set with 2 or 3 spires than see an entire cityscape with. Does that make sense to y'all? Like you'd almost rather see that.
Or go the fuck outside.
Yeah. I'm still a fan of the old painted.
I mean, go the fuck outside.
Yeah. Either way.
I'm taking that. See, the problem, and I understand why they don't do they have to do everything visual with like LED screens, is because we're watching these on very high def televisions and it suffers. But they're using the same camera with the fake background added as they are in the room, but the fake background. And so it doesn't jive with the drab wall that is beautifully painted to make it look like a tunnel, because the set was great. And that's my biggest thing with, and I just don't even notice it because it's on almost every show because they're so rushed to get shit done that it's, and they're leaning into it. Oh, we can have just a great background. Just do it like in Star Trek, modern Star Trek. What they do is they just change the shit that's in the sky. They leave the trees there, you know what I mean, and change the color of the leaves because you can do that. Oh, you know what? But it's a little drawing. And to Shooty, I do think this may become a pet peeve of this season for me, is because he's chasing her because he knows something, because something's already happened. The timey-wiminess of the plot. I do not want it to get overcomplicated and hope it's just something, but he just, they're leaning into that too.
Timey-wimey? What are we, 6?
Yeah.
I like that bit. That's a good bit.
Oh, I like everything she said.
Yeah.
And I want to get to that at the point. I'm going to lean into that, but yeah, he's not there. This is about her, and it's about, let's go. People go. I was scanning on Blue Sky and stuff like that to see what people were talking about. And there's not a lot of talk, and and a couple of people just say, yes, some people have complained about the message in this, that she does not, you will not talk down to her. You will not mansplain to her. You will not call, you know what I mean? She is very blunt, and, that the evil computer ends up being this shitty boyfriend she had. I liked it on that because I went, that's just fucked up.
Yeah.
She goes into space, and this shitty boyfriend from 15,
still there following
her, stalking her in some way. But the doctor is it. I mean, she goes on, she says it straight out. I hate incels.
And that's one of the things
that needs to be smoothed over. I know a lot.
I was going to say, that's one of the things that makes this really contemporary for the world we're living in now. And the crazy thing about historical context is people will be like, oh, this can't be about Elon Musk because this was written 2 years ago. Like 2 years ago was when Elon Musk took over Twitter, rebranded as X, started the enshittification of Twitter, was talking about, going to Mars. The New Republic named him the scoundrel of the year. Like it's not necessarily like in terms of responding to historical events. Like it doesn't have to have happened right now to be in the air. Like this is stuff that has, and Gamergate and all that kind of stuff. All this stuff has been happening for like 10, 15, 20 years now. But the fact that
15 years.
The fact that it went out like this weekend is just like, it feels very, very on the nose in a way that like, it seems odd that something like, we all remember the controversy about Robot of Sherwood, where they had to chop it up because there was a contemporary historical event that happened that they had to edit out part of that thing. But like they didn't edit out any of this. And this is all like straight from the headline stuff, like shouting down women, the SAVE Act, which just passed in Congress, where they're trying to take away the vote from disenfranchised like millions of American citizens, which will disproportionately affect women because they have to show their birth certificate, which doesn't have their married name on it. Like, and that's how they solve the plot here, is with basically her papers. Like, this is so ripped from the headlines. It is so contemporary. It is so speaking to our like present day world that it's really like, and this obviously can get past everyone, but I just wanted to bring that up right away when you're talking about Alan, because I feel like that is the world we live in right now, is these tech bros who are trying to take over the world. Like, that's what this plot is. It's so incredible.
Yeah. It was. I liked it. I liked how she handled it, and I liked her. I want to go to the thing about, but the shooting, that he does it. He does something. You know, he is, in her mind, don't talk to me that way.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing to do, because a doctor, in all his incarnations, will talk over somebody and correct them. Come on, we all watch. You know, I love the Third Doctor, but he can be rude.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when he does it to Joe, Joe's going, but I already did this, so whatever. You know, Joe always kind of sometimes has a comeback for it. But there is a bit of patriarchy, and it's not wrong to address. And hopefully it's leading to something that her correcting him is, we're going to see something with the Doctor, his relationship to the companion, this one being different. Does that make sense? That I don't want to be here, I want to go home, which we haven't had that plot for a while.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? The companion is, I didn't sign up for this, I want to go home. And see what that dynamic between a very strong woman who all she wants to do is get home, and the Doctor wanting to share the universe with her, what kind of tension, what kind of adventure, what kind of conversations and, you know, ideas can be brought from that. I'm looking forward to that. But I agree that I would like this Doctor being upset and not knowing what happened. Like, oh, she was gonna be my companion now, she said, which I felt that worked with Sasha 55.
Yep, Sasha 55.
That he had promised her the universe at all, and then she dies before it happens.
Rita vibes from the God Complex, and Linda with a Y also.
Yeah, and I do like it when.
And again, those are great hits.
Yeah,
but
I do.
The trouble is, as soon as she said it, immediately knew she was going to die, and within seconds she was dead. So there's no sense of loss for anyone watching this other than the Doctor.
Yeah,
and we're supposed to feel the loss of the Doctor, but we haven't got to know her.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely was shock value there.
Yeah, but we're taking secondhand word for her quality rather than being shown it through the episode and her being the last one to die.
Yeah. That was the other thing that bothered me at the very beginning when she greets Belinda on the catwalk, is that she's been with the Doctor for 6 months now. She must know that every 9-word thing. Why doesn't she start it immediately?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the trouble is we have lots of deep emotional resonant moments and themes throughout. The trouble is the way that they're interlinked diminishes their impact to a degree, because if you're not made to care about the world and the people that inhabit it by first-hand experience, rather than being told that these are good people and the robots are bad, you know, I need to know these people myself to feel the impact of their loss. And so it just becomes a cliche and a trope.
Yeah.
And you lose that impact. And yes, Ncuti is very good at portraying emotion. But if the viewer can't connect with that, then it's for nothing.
Yeah. And one of the factors there is the bifurcation of the way that the rebels regard Belinda, because I feel like there's a split between the Sasha 55, who is on board because she knows, she trusts the Doctor and she is ready to accept Belinda when she arrives, possibly again because she's been prepped to know that this is going to happen, versus Manny, the other guy, who is very, very like against her, and you're responsible for this. Why are we risking our lives for you? Like, why hasn't the doctor brought everyone in on the plan? That's the other thing that's interesting to me. Like, if Sasha knows, why doesn't Manny know? And like, just again, the splitting of I feel like if there were fewer characters, or if somehow you had brought together into the Sasha 55 character both her outlook and the Manny character's outlook, to have her won over by Belinda by the end of the episode and then killed, like maybe that would make a difference. But for me, that what you're talking about, Jeff, it makes sense. And it is like there maybe have been too many characters, just like there are too many things on the screen when you're outside. Like maybe there were too many characters to split our attention between.
Let me give you an example, just to try and put in context where I'm coming from. Not just for you guys, but for the people listening.
Mm-hmm.
Oscar Botcherby's death means more in the two Doctors than anybody's death in last night's episode, including the cats. And that was unnecessary. But I would rather see someone who is essentially a buffoon and a plot device, but we get to know him and we get a feel for him and we understand where his heart is, than anyone that was there last night. They were there to be killed. And
weirdly, Jeff, and the guy who didn't get killed but who fills exactly that role is the little polisher robot.
Exactly. Yes.
I loved him. I loved that. And I was like, at the very end, he's going to get killed. And it didn't happen.
Yeah. He's got.
No, I think the main thing
he had a little hat. Like the little robot had a little hat.
He could have
also Roger, like polish, gave me that vibe as well, but like in a less annoying way.
Everything we're saying is, I think we're right, because the best part of the Christmas special was him getting to know the woman.
Yes.
In the hotel.
Yeah.
It worked. Stop. And I agree with you, Jeff, because I liked Sasha 55 and I knew she was a throwaway. The minute he said, I'm going to show you, I'm like, oh, Jesus, she's going to fucking kill. Oh, there she goes. Because that's all I was paying attention to. When is she going to get shot? I was waiting for it to happen immediately, like inappropriately too soon. Like,
yeah.
I can't wait to see.
I mean,
it was,
I mean, you really could have flip-flopped, because again, in the Unleashed, RTD says that this plot has been in his head for a long time, and he was looking for a way to do it, and maybe it could have been a Christmas special at some point, a one-off for a big star character. And I'm like, you really could have flip-flopped this with the Christmas special. And at the very end, Belinda's like, your world is strange and unusual, Doctor, but I really want to go home. And he was like, okay, so we'll take you home. And then Anita could be the character for this season. Like, have Joy to the World be the intro for the new companion for the next season. But Jeff, I want to go back really quick before we go on to the sort of next thing and bring it back, because I had some things to say about what Ross was saying earlier about Belinda's attitude towards the Doctor, or traveling with the Doctor, or being swept up in his adventures. And I wanted to get your take on that, and then I had something to say about it. I just don't want to let it go too far.
I think the reason that I like Belinda is, I was watching it, I was thinking, am I getting Sarah Jane energy here? Am I actually getting a bit of from a character, and a little bit of pushback, and not in a comedic way like Donna Noble did?
No,
But actually, legit, she's got a bit of ace about her as well, I think. And really, they're the two classic companions, apart from maybe Tegan, who, again, has a little bit of pushback.
Yep.
More so maybe than Sarah Jane and Ace combined. But you know what I mean. They're willing to call the Doctor out.
What's that, Ross?
No, I was just going to say, if Tegan was Tegan, you're always afraid she might actually punch him. right in the fucking neck. No, I know it is. Sarah, these are lines that Sarah Jane should have been given in the 1970s. Oh, I'm the liberated woman. Ooh, a monster scream. This is what, they've given it to us. Ace is just, she's a sponge, but she's also, she questions authority. Yeah, I got it. And that's why I think I fell in love with her. And that allows her, when she's funny and sarcastic because I'm feeling she's going to be very sarcastic. The cat ran away to live on a farm.
That was good.
As she's being kidnapped by the robots. Yeah,
apparently, I'm the queen of outer space. I love that line too.
She's very funny.
And she's very deadpan.
So yeah, I think
the best
it's perfect.
way of British humor. It has to be given with a straight face. Otherwise, it's just farce. But with that straight face, you get that great. Sort of.
And I like it. I like we talk about not miss. I don't want all of it. It works, and I love that. I love her as a character. It made me like her more. Yes, because these are my kind of companions. Donna, I love Donna. Tegan, Ace, Sarah Jane's my favorite. They're all the ones that tell the doctor what's what.
Yeah, I love that there at the end. Their negotiation. I mean, not even at the end. Like from sort of the rebel base onward, like the way that she is interacting with and questioning the doctor, and sort of not only just calling him out, but there at the end, like at the very end, the doctor sort of assumes that adventure is adventure, like that this has to appeal to everyone. Like, why don't you see what I see? And Belinda is like, that's not my mind. Like, why are you assuming your kid? Like, she is like, this is a sort of almost what Barbara might have said in the first episode of Doctor Who. Like, why are you taking me against my will? Like, that's a legitimate question that she has. And the doctor doesn't have an answer for it. She has to repeat herself. She's like, no, doctor, I need you to listen to me, because we've literally just gone through this with Alan. Like, he doesn't listen to her. Like, from the very, very beginning of the episode, like the second line out of his mouth is, I know girls aren't good at maths, but
God, why didn't you hit him in the nuts right then?
Or like he gets on her case about the rapping. Like there's the development that's given to Alan, it exceeds the development that's given to everyone else, and he is the most two-dimensional character in the show. So that's another thing that I think we need to look at, is that, again, that parallel, because I feel like there is just, RTD has never shied away from saying the doctor is dangerous, that being around the doctor is dangerous. That he will sometimes do things without thinking about the consequences. That the doctor has flaws. I mean, for me, like everyone has their sort of own opinions about the sort of Time Lord Victorious era with the 10th Doctor, or the Martha season, and the way that, quote, the way that people tend to look at it, the way fandom tends to look at it, is that Martha is pining over the doctor. What they're not seeing, what those people aren't seeing, what that section of fandom isn't seeing, is that the doctor treats Martha abhorrently from the start of the season through the end. Like, he treats her very, very badly. He doesn't listen to her. He doesn't hear her legitimate complaints from the Shakespeare Code onwards. And this is one of the things where I feel like the doctor has to catch himself there at the end. And we think about that growth he had in the 14th Doctor specials season. And I feel like we're seeing that here, is that he actually, it takes her a few times saying it, but she does get through to him. She has to keep saying, look, doctor, you're not listening to me. I want you to take me home. So I just want to talk about that for a second, if y'all have a second to think about. And again, I'm not critiquing the doctor. I feel like RTD is inviting us to say, okay, we should pause here and look at this.
Well, I think you're very about. She doesn't want to be about agency. We talk about agency now. Someone who's like, robot showed up at my house and kidnapped me, and there's this guy who says he has a time machine. I mean, so she's but like when she goes, you scanned my DNA without even asking.
Yep.
She pauses on getting after him about the bigger issue. Let's get out of here. But she's gonna. But before I tear you a new one. Yeah. For just not just saying she has no control, and this person who says it's going to help her is not explaining anything to her. She's trying to dig deeper, but the first thing she's going to do is she's scan you scanned me without doing, stop it. Yeah. And even when he's trying to get her home, once he's apologized, you want to call that an apology. That was a TV dramatic apology.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She knows it too. She knows it.
Yeah.
She knows it and she sees it. Like
the
look in her eye, the reaction she has when he says, like, I'm sorry with both of my hearts. Like she like does a sort of eye roll.
Yeah, she doubts him because she's like, you're not trying when they're having all the problems.
Well, I mean, that's the other part is Sasha 55 told her, I trust him with my life. And then she died. Like, you know, she's seeing it firsthand.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that's part of the journey of this season.
Yeah.
If you're going to, and she's very good. The actress is great. I just rewatched Andor. She barely speaks. And I was terrified every time she looked at somebody because you knew she would kill them. Because she, you know, she's so, and I think she's great in this. I think she's the best part. My favorite part is her, and I like that they're poking the bear of the incel and the way men. There's, you know, a whole generation of men in this country voted for a spray pan piece of shit because they're angry at the world.
Yep.
They don't know how it works. Didn't work for them the way it worked for people before them.
And that's the robot herd mentality thing. You know, they even say that out loud in the episode. They're like, you know, robots and humans lived. I love that line. That made me laugh. We're going to talk about this too, that I was laughing through the whole episode. This was a very, very funny episode. But before we get to that, like that, the doctor's like, you know, for thousands of years, robots and humans lived together in peace. And then 10 years ago, a switch flipped. Like, again, there are very easy ways to read into that, the mass manipulation of people through social networks, through computer linked things like, there's a lot going on in this episode around the idea of consent, and not just, you know, consent to have your DNA scanned, but consent to go on an adventure. Belinda talks about coercive control, like manipulation of the populace. Like, consent is a huge part of this episode. So I'm glad that we're talking about that.
Yeah.
What makes me sad.
I hope it's away.
Oh, sorry, Ross. You cut out. What makes me sad is if you look at Hartnell's Doctor, from his first episode to, let's say, the end of season 2, he has a character arc and development. And yet here we are, all these regenerations later, all of these companions for whom the Doctor has not considered their sense of self, their rights, their entitlements. Why has the Doctor still learnt nothing? I don't understand why the Doctor is written as a static character anymore. And he's just a generic, the Doctor is the Doctor is the Doctor, and really anybody can play him. Whereas certainly earlier on, the Doctor's character was defined by the actor playing them, and wasn't just this sort of cookie cutter, the Doctor does this because this is what the Doctor does. The Doctor never learns. Well, the Doctor does learn. The Doctor does develop. The Doctor does grow and become. Even John Pertwee, through Katie Manning's time in the show.
Yeah, he is much softer by the end.
In the Demons, which is like the end of their first season together, he's at his absolute worst, Joe. But that is not the same Doctor that drove away at the end of the Green Death.
No.
He has learned, he has softened, he's developed his character. And all of the Doctors can be said to have done that up until really a lot of the modern era. And not all Doctors are equal, but the character of the Doctor, when it's being written, and when it's being written by the same person consistently, becomes static.
Yep.
And that is where I have a little disconnect with maybe Shooty's Doctor at the moment, because I really want to try and nail down why I'm struggling to really see him not as the Doctor, but as a Doctor that I would actually want to get in the TARDIS with and travel with, which most of the others I do.
And that's the weird thing, because RTD's voice is so heavy in the season, or in this era, that it's odd. It's odd, and it's inconsistent the way that Shooty's Doctor is written. Like, again, we're literally just off the back of the Christmas special and the 50th and the 60th anniversary specials, where we had this idea that the doctor has now that this is now the post therapy doctor, that this is a doctor who has become a different sort of person with a different sort of outlook on the world. And yet, you know, again, an episode after the really intense emotional connection he founded with Anita, like we have this almost Matt Smith sort of flirty, like you're coming with me, I'm not paying attention to anything except what's on my mind sort of doctor, which feels very jarring.
I never know which is the real doctor I'm looking at with Ncuti. I never know which is the real one. Is it the overly energetic, flamboyant, charismatic, calling everything babes doctor? Or is it that still doctor that takes those moments? And yes, it could be a combination of both, but one feels like a facade. And I don't always know that it's the right one.
And the other moment that really jarred with me in that exact context was right after the death of Sasha 55, because he sheds the tear and then he's like, all right then, which for me was it's a very Eighth Doctor move. Like, for anyone who's familiar with the audios, like the death of Kara's really affected me in a hard way at the end of the Divergent arc when they come back into the regular universe. But Kara's dies and he basically turns, it's not even basically, he turns to Charlie and says, let's go get ice cream. Like that, like turn on a dime, like I just lost someone that we've been traveling with. For Ncuti, that feels very inconsistent with his doctor's character. Like, he went back and pined after Ruby, like all the stuff he did, even with the sister of Fleabag in the episode where she goes to the desert and gets the spoon to save the universe. Like, it felt like he was connected with her and remembered her in a way that Sasha 55 was just gone. Like, we'll name a building after her, and he's like, thanks. And I'm like, again, where was the connection there? Yeah.
It's a plot device in this one, and that bugs me. And I'd like to see, because at times I think Ncuti does. We know what he wants to do. They don't, but I don't, and I understand what this episode had to be about her, and that's the best thing about it. Her story, I'm great with. It's the other things, but I would like to see that if this is going to be, if you're going to have a theme of, I hope that the theme of agency or the plot device of agency, whatever you want to call it, continues. That if that is it, the doctor learning that, hey, maybe I'm, this incarnation, I got to relearn my manners.
Yep.
Everybody's not as flamboyant and carefree as I am. I have, give it a reason.
And maybe
and let Ncuti do some heavy lifting. Here's that, if we're all talking, and I agree with what you're saying, is there, he has great moments, but I'm not sure, I don't see the connect between the emotional Ncuti and the Dr. Cries and the flamboyant one. There's nothing in between. Can we see the in between?
And I feel like maybe, Ross, you're playing on an important string, and maybe, over the course of this season, maybe that is part of the plot, like the sort of weird. And again, it works in the story that there's this disconnect between Ncudi's approach and Belinda as they're getting to know each other and like trying to figure each other out. Like, it very quickly she like gets the every ninth word bit, and I'm there's a lot of friction.
It was a great scene.
It was. There's a lot of friction between them over the course of the episode as they get to know each other. It's just strange that at the very, very end that there's still this like weird like miscommunication between them, because the entire episode, especially that first scene, like is about let's learn how to communicate with each other. So it's, maybe again, that is part of the season arc. I guess we'll see. But for one episode, it feels very odd.
Yeah. No, I hope it's a through line, because one, them bickering will be entertaining, and and also those discussions of what that if you want to show something, let's see how this doctor thinks.
Mm-hmm. Just get Eric Say with it. It's fun.
Just kill everybody.
Yeah. All right. So overall, I like this one, but. I think it was entertaining. I'd rewatch it. I'm going to rewatch it probably with Leslie. She's out of town. So, yeah, I had dental surgery and she went, peace out.
Well, that's the other thing. We haven't talked about it at all. I mentioned it earlier, but I was laughing all the way through this episode. There were lines and scenarios that I'm like, I just have never seen this in Doctor Who. This is very odd to me. Like the stuff, again, the stuff about the Queen of Outer Space. There were really fun, and like when the robot when the AI appears, and it's just like this giant, like you say, 80s or 50s or 60s looking. I laughed in spite of I'm like, it's so funny. It's so, or the robots going, behold, like I just couldn't stop laughing at like how big and over the top the robots were. Like I loved, and if you watch them, like as the camera pans across, they have a habit of just like twitching their hands. And I'm like, what is, like, there are little things about this episode that or the cat getting vaporized. I know there are a bunch of people who are going to complain about that. I thought it was hilarious.
I'm a cat lover, and I thought it was funny in hell.
I just thought there were really funny things about this episode that I don't want to lose track of that. And I also don't want the listeners to think, and I feel like we've had, if anyone's been listening to us, they know that we've been having a really constructive and engaged conversation, because I really enjoyed the episode. It doesn't mean I can't question things about it, you know?
Yeah, I don't like critiquing Doctor Who particularly, but I also have to be honest about how I'm kind of connecting with it. And to be honest, I got the notification as soon as I got up yesterday morning that it was on iPlayer. I didn't watch it live. I watched it when I ate my dinner, and it was just like, I wasn't, I don't know. I don't feel connected to this era of Doctor Who, I don't think. And that makes me quite sad. But at the same time, I can absolutely watch it and enjoy it because it is Doctor Who, and I will always watch and enjoy Doctor Who. But there are things that my personal taste when it comes to Doctor Who isn't there. There are reasons I like stories like The Rescue and The Ghost Monument. I'm not getting those interpersonal connections. I'm not getting those quiet moments. And I like the quiet, nice moments. They're just as important to what makes Doctor Who tick as the action and the wonder. But I'm more than willing to see where this season pans out. And I think you both clicked on a theme that may hopefully be present throughout and give us some more of those more serious moments, because I think, and I don't know where it's targeted, but it feels very much like Doctor Who once again is targeted and skewing towards the younger audience. So it may just be a case that I'm not that target audience, other than being a Doctor Who fan. But I feel like maybe the more important conversations would be the ones between the 6, 7 and 8-year-olds in the playground and how they're responding to Doctor Who. And I'm sure that they are filled with the wonder at the scope and the scale and the sort of diversity of it all, which is all a good thing. So, I mean, in that regard, I saw that the overnights have come out, and immediately people are going to be doomsaying because they got 2 million in the overnights. But as I've just explained, I didn't go and watch it live because I don't need to anymore. That's not how people watch TV.
Yeah, they don't. Yep. It's streaming count. They want to see and how long it lasts. That's what they're looking at. They're looking at, hey, this episode was started high and it went, look, they were watching it for 6 months.
Yeah. Normally it's minutes watched in the first weekend and the first week.
Level. Let's make more of it.
And I mean, I remember that there were reports very recently in the last couple months about, that Disney Plus finally put out some stats and said it was top 5 every week. So, I mean, people were watching it. What I'm interested in is not only how the kids, but how like everyone, because it's a moment that was sort of blink and you'll miss it. And I almost forgot about it myself, but it was at the very, very end. And I would like to get y'all's thoughts on this before we sort of close out, is the I loved the effects in this, like the special effects, the vaporization effect I thought was glorious. Like I would love to see that as it felt like an upgrade to me over if you were thinking about what the old series was to what it was when it came back in 2005, like the Dalek effect. Like it feels to me like, man, if this was the Dalek effect for 2025, incredible. Like it looks amazing. The weird what they call schwupping, the time fracture effect when they touch the two certificates together, felt very like John Pertwee wrestling Omega in the Matrix, or like Davison floating in Arc of Infinity. Really gorgeous effects.
Very 80s and 70s.
I loved that. But the after effect of that, the aftermath of the touching the two diplomas together, when they're like, "What happened to Alan?" And they're like, "He's microscopic now." And they look at the floor, and he's literally a sperm and an egg, and the polishing robot comes and sweeps it up. I'm like, what does anybody think of? They literally just aborted the villain. It's so gross and weird.
Or the sweeping bot is going to have a very interesting baby in a few years' time. It's got the back
talking
panel,
about the melding of the flesh and metal.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say something about when they showed Alan out with the cover off, and he's just all flesh and metal.
Oh my God, it was so weird.
No, I loved it because that's like going, ooh, couldn't that be what a Cyberman looks like? Because I like a little, that was he was a terrifying villain for such a useless piece of shit. Basically, he's a nerd who turned himself into Dr. Doom thinking it would make him cool.
It's Superman 3, isn't it?
It is.
All right. What a great villain, though.
Yeah.
Like for villainy, for villainy in 2025, over the top, but also this is actually happening on the news every day. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's what the Doge guys look like.
Yep. And they're going to another planet. They've been talking about going to Mars forever and ever. SpaceX, all this stuff is it's absolutely ripped from the headlines, but it's still a cartoon villain. I really had a lot of time for that. I thought it was a really original, in the way that only sort of Doctor Who can pull this sort of thing off, where I don't even know, I haven't listened to any podcasts yet. I'm excited to see what people are saying, because again, again, for me, on the whole, the quibbles aside, and we'll hopefully talk about these things on an ongoing conversation over the course of the season. On the whole, it's really worked for me. I'm excited to see what the next episode. I may not be sitting down to watch it at tea time like Jeff. I took my time getting into it. Also, I forgot what time it was on. But then again, the world is falling down around us, so I can be excused for not being sitting down in front of the computer the moment it drops. But I liked the episode, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And I'm thrilled also, again, in this time of when I'm scared to leave the house because I might be whisked away to an El Salvadoran prison if I look at the wrong white guy the wrong way, to be able to be part of this community again, and to be able to sit down and talk with y'all about Doctor Who. And, I'm excited now to listen to the Trap One. I'm excited to listen to the Jodie into Terror guys, the Flight Through Infinity, the Second Great and Bountiful Human Empire. I'll get there eventually. I'm excited for the community again. For these next 8 weeks, I really do get to escape, for a little while every week. And I am so grateful for that. So thank y'all again for having me back to talk about Doctor Who with y'all. It's a privilege.
Well, absolutely. It is for us as well, I think. This is what it's all about. They're just friends getting together and chatting Doctor Who and not being, hopefully not being dickish about it as well. No. Just going, here's what I like, here's what I don't like.
Yeah.
We can't all like the same things, otherwise it'd be a very boring world.
Oh yeah. All right.
Talking of which, listen to our Trap One on 10th Planet.
yes, I have it queued up. Did it drop for Record Store Day?
Yeah. All right, before we go,
I gotta look. We don't get the Record Store Day stuff here in the States anymore. But give it 3 months, and I'll be able to find it at a good price on eBay. So I'm really excited about that. I love those vinyls. I think they're gorgeous.
All right, guys. Well, let's wrap this up. Let's do recommendation. I'm gonna do mine. I'm late to this. It's a Prime show with us called Paradise with James Marsden and the lead actor. I'm blanking on his name, but it's a great thriller, and my wife and my buddy Ken both recommended it, and I can't binge it. I can only watch one in a row because every episode ends on a fucked up cliffhanger. And you're like, I just got to absorb what I just watched. And I don't want to give anything other about it except it's about a Secret Service agent and a president during an event. Their relationship and everything else, you have to discover it because it's blowing my mind.
Someone told me about a show almost exactly like that yesterday called The Residence. Is that the same thing?
No, that's a comedic murder mystery, one said in the White House. Okay. No, but I know that's on Prime too. They have
that's
two.
Strangely contemporary as well.
Yeah. So, but the one Paradise is incredible, thought out thriller, and there's a little sci-fi element to it. It's very good. It's so well made. That you know when you can be silent, where things happen and there's no dialogue and it all has a purpose. It's very well done. It's mind-blowing. I really, really dug it. All right, Jeff, anything you got to recommend other than?
I started watching Resident Alien with Alan Tudyk.
Yeah,
I love that show.
It's really good fun. So I'm having great fun with that at the moment. I'm very early into it. But I know they're making a third season or a fourth season.
They just finished the fourth. I'm up to season 3. You're gonna really enjoy it.
Yeah, having a good time with that.
Oh yeah, it is pure joy. It is nothing but silliness.
My recommendation, I watched a movie that came out, I think in 2023, a couple months ago, and I've been thinking about it every day, and I think that both of y'all would like it, Jeff, you especially. It feels like it could coexist in the Scavenger's Reign universe, which is why immediately I thought of you. It is a French film from 2013 called 2023 called Mars Express. It's sort of a detective movie that happens on Mars in the far future, but again, like, because of the way it plays, because of the sort of time they take lingering over stuff, and the general way the animation style, I think, is also not inconsistent with it. But it's sort of a noirish sort of murder mystery involving humans and cyborgs on Mars in the future, and I just think people especially who like Doctor Who or who like Scavenger's Reign would really, really dig it. So please take a look.
I shall check that out.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like French visual, like French science fiction comics and stuff like that. They had that, and to capture it in another medium is great. I love it when that happens. All right, folks. Well, we'll be back next week with next week's episode. What is it called?
I don't even remember what it's called. I know it's Miami 1952. Hopefully Will Smith will appear and welcome us to Miami as his wont.
Oh, yes. If they're going to be back, they're going to...
He's been at the Miami-Dade International Airport since 1999 saying, Bienvenido, Ami, every time.
All right, folks. Until then, hey, we look forward to seeing you all somewhere in time or space.